I'm going to discuss on how to integrate Azure Virtual Desktop with Azure Local. So I have already posted videos on what is Azure Local and how to deploy the cluster and all. So after deploying the cluster, you can actually deploy a virtual machine, Kubernetes on top of it. So one of the most use case which I used to get during the Azure Local conversations with partner and customer is that how to integrate AVD as well with Azure Local. So let's get into it. You already know what is Azure Local. Azure Local extends Azure to the customer-owned infrastructure, which means you can actually integrate your own valid hardware into Azure Cloud so that you will be getting the cloud capabilities and the SDN software-defined networking capabilities. And AVD is nothing but delivering or securely delivering the desktop and the remote app to the customer. Whether it be M365 application or the custom application, you are delivering it to the customer with maximum flexibility, security, and much more is there. So when I'm discussing about AVD flow, there are a lot of components involved in it. So if you can see, there is RD gateway, RD web, RD broker, and everything is there. So these components are actually managed by Azure Virtual Desktop infrastructure itself. It's not even visible to us, even if you are deploying it in natural or our traditional Azure virtual machine or Azure local environment. These components won't be available for us to do anything. This is completely managed service. So these services are fully managed and even not visible for the end users or the end customers. So this is the same case if you are deploying the host pools in AVD, the Azure Local or Azure VMs, you don't be able to control any of these components. So what I'm planning to say here is control plane will be always remain on Azure. Whether you're deploying in virtual machines, Azure virtual machines, or Azure local virtual machines, the control plane won't change. Then what does it change? The host pool. If you can see here, the host pool you are seeing here, the customer or the partner will be getting the control over. So instead of deploying the host pool on Azure traditional VMs, we will be deploying in Azure local VM. So similar user experience you will be getting, the portal experience, whether you are deploying with ARM template, the same user experience you will be getting. So other components are same. The client, you are the client machines are there, the Active Directory, the Active Directory domain services, which is there in the on-premise, every component remains the same, but the session host going to be deployed in Azure local VM instead of Azure virtual machine. So a little bit difference is there in the capabilities, but the other additional, the theory, the concept, and everything is same. So if you're already familiar with AVD deployment in Azure Local is pretty much similar. Okay, so what are the things which we can control in Azure portal or we will get to deploy? One is a session host or the host pool. Host pool will be in Azure local environment in this case, and the application group and the workspace you got to define. So workspace defines what you will be seeing in the web UI. So a UI will be shown for you. Let's suppose this is my UI. I have already opened my Windows app. This is one of the application for remote users to use the AVD solution. So this is my UI. So this is the workspace. If you can see, this is my workspace name. So one workspace and what needed to be seen in the workspace we will get to define, and the application group also we will get to define. In that application group, which are the remote application and session hosts you need to deploy, that we can define. Also, which users has access to those applications and the session host also we can define. So three things we can define. Host pool is the first one, workspace is the second one, and the application group and the user assignment we can decide. Other things are automatically managed for you. You don't have to really worry about other component in the AVD. Everything is managed for you. Okay. So this is my lab architecture. I am having my Active Directory, firewall services, and everything, and also my Azure Local node is there. I have deployed the Azure Local VMs or Kubernetes, anything I can deploy in that. So I have deployed. So this is my lab architecture. Yeah. What is the first thing you need to do in order to deploy your AVD environment into Azure Local? So the first thing is preparing your Active Directory. Why? Because if you are traditionally deploying your AVD into or AVD host pool into Azure VM, there are two identities method you will get. One is a hybrid identity, whether on-premise AD is synced with Entra ID. One is an Entra ID only identity. So this Entra ID only option won't be available for Azure Local VMs. Only option you will be getting the hybrid identity. So that it is mandatory that you should prepare your Active Directory for a sync. So how to sync your Active Directory with Entra ID? The first step you needed to do is make your domain externally identifiable. You can use GoDaddy, VeriSign, or any domain vendor. What I have used is the Azure Domain Services or Azure App Services domain. Something like that is there. So I can show you here what I have done. So if you can see, App Services domain. Yeah, this is the one which I have purchased. So you can use anything. And this same domain I'm already configured and available in my Active Directory. So if you can see, this is my DNS and this is my Active Directory. So under this, the users and everything is there. So the same domain I have actually purchased from Azure itself. You can use any hardware vendor. The next step is add this domain to Entra ID and verify the same. So if you go here in the Entra ID, I have actually added this domain. So in the custom See, I have added the domain. So the guidance and everything is again documented. You can get it from internet, or you can see the YouTube videos. I'm not really going deep into it. So this is what I have done. I'm having an internal domain. I have actually made it externally identifiable by purchasing it, and I have added it in the custom domain and verified it. So this is what I have done. The next thing I have done is the okay, the next thing in the sync process is the install and configure AD connect on the on-premise AD. So I have done that already. So after you do that, you will get something like this. If you can see the synchronization services you will get, where you can see all this thing has been successful. So again, steps are already documented. You can go anywhere, the documentation, the videos you can see, and do the same. So if you want me to do a video on that, more than happy, just comment below. Yeah, so yeah, that's it. So if you can see, my users are actually synced. I'm having only 2 users, so I don't have so many numbers. See, this is the, you can see on-premise sync enabled. Yes, so these two are the on-premise identity. So you can identify this from the name itself. It doesn't have the on Microsoft.com. It only have my domain name with it. So yeah, this is how I synced. The next process is, after syncing, I have to go to Azure Local and start my the prep work for the AVD deployment. The first thing I needed to do is image creation. So I needed to go to my Azure Local environment. This is my Azure Local. My cluster already deployed. I have already done a video on that. Please go and check it out if you didn't see it already. So if you go here in the image session, you will get 3 options to add image. The first option will be from the marketplace, then from the storage account, or the local. So any option you can actually choose. I have chosen from the marketplace. And Windows 11 multi-session image is the image which I have actually deployed. Also, it has the M365 apps also incorporated with it. So this is the image I am choosing. Any image you want, you can get it, but it should be supported. Okay. Once that is done, I have to create a logical network saying what is the IP, what is the DNS, and all. So this is the logical network I have created. What should be given? The IP address, the default gateway, the DNS, and the IP pools, and the which switch you should be using. That is it. After this, you can directly go to AVD and start creating your host pool, application group, and workspace. These are the 3 you should be creating. So what you needed to do, I have already created, but I will show the step. You have to decide the resource group, give it a name and a region, and I need a remote app or desktop you can select, and after that it should be pooled, and it should be breadth first, and the limit. So for the experiment, you can give your value. And yeah, I needed to add the virtual machine here. Very important, instead of Azure virtual machine, you have to provide a Azure local virtual machine. Then you will be getting the custom location. This is the name which represents my cluster, and this is my image, Windows 11 multi-session, and 1 VM, 2 processors, and memory should be 4 GB. Everything is fine for me. And this is my network. In this network, the Azure local machine will be automatically deployed. Okay. Then Active Directory is the only option. As I said, Microsoft Entra ID not supported as of now, and you have to provide an AD domain join UPN, which has the permissions. So this is my one, and I am providing some kind of a password. Okay. Okay. And again, I'm giving some password here for the local administration. So 2 passwords credential you need to give. One is the domain join credential, and other one is the local administration credential. Okay. The next is let it be, because I'm not really going to create. So then a workspace needed to be created. As I said, a new workspace can be created here, or you can create it later as well, not an issue. So Azure local workspace I am created, and this is very recommended to enable the diagnostics. If no, it is very difficult to find out what went wrong. So while I was deploying, I got some errors and all while connecting to the workspace. So by using this error messages, I actually got to figure out the thing. So it is very recommended. After that, tags and review and create. That is it. So I have already created it. Once you create, you can see the local host pool here, which has all the information. So the machines will be automatically deployed. See, the machines will be deployed. If you can see, all the domain joining process and everything will be automatically done. See, these are the processes. So all the processes will be automatically done. You don't have to really worry about it. You can do it manually as well, but why to do manual if you already have the automatic way? And the RDP properties and networking properties, whether you should be deploying it in a private environment, public environment, RDP short path you needed to select, everything you can make sure later. And also the next thing is the workspace. So workspace, as I said, we are defining how to connect into the web UI, and here also you are getting option to whether publicly connect or privately connect. All these options you are having, and which application group should be showing that in that web UI. And if you are going to application group, you will be get to define which application. So currently Session Desktop is my application. If you have remote application like Word, PowerPoint, something like that, or custom application, you can add it here. And after that, assignment. So you needed to assign these applications can be used by these many identity. So if you can see, this is how I assign. You can see intra ID identities and external identities. I just added for testing purpose. I just wanted to see how the behavior is. I got an error, obviously, because it doesn't support. So yeah, only hybrid identity will support for this case. If you go for these external identities or intra ID identities, you will get an error. You will not be successful in the connection. Yeah, so this would be mine. So this is it, what I have done. I have created, so far the intra ID hybrid identities I have created, or the sync I have done, and after that I have prepared my Azure Local, the image I have added. Once the image added, I have added the logical network for AVD virtual machine to deploy, and after that I have prepared the host pool, workspace, and the application group, and I assigned the user into it. Yeah, we have done. And after this, you needed to actually go to the Windows app as one, else you can go for web UI as well. So I preferred Windows app. What you can do is you can simply go here. This is my workspace. Simply go here and connect. So I am already logged in with the hybrid credential, idabu@mtcsblr.net. So this is my hybrid identity, and the credential you can use the same. So it will ask you for the password to give. Then yeah, let it come. Okay, authenticating. So yeah, I got it. Yeah. Okay, I have provided. So yeah, the session desktop. So one of the important thing here is I didn't allowed any inbound connection to this session host. Everything is outbound. So there is a theory behind it, how the outbound is connectivity is happening using all the RD gateway, RD web, all the components, RD broker, all the components are there. Right? It is, so there is the documentation there. But in a nutshell, I haven't enabled or I haven't whitelisted any inbound port or inbound connectivity. Every traffic is going here is the outbound connectivity. So that is a very interesting feature, which in form of security, which I would say. So this is how you deploy AVD into the Azure local environment. So one other thing I wanted to show is this one. As I said, everything will be automatically deployed. So if you go to Azure local itself, you can see the AVD virtual machines will be automatically deployed. So you can see it in the virtual machine session. See, this is automatically deployed. I haven't deployed it as part of the deployment process. So similar experience you will be getting. The only difference which I felt is Entra ID only authentication method is not supported. Other than that, the experience you are getting is pretty much same. And yeah, this is for today, and this is it from my end. Thank you so much, everyone. Hope you enjoyed.